Thank you for joining me for another episode of Hanging with Mr. Francis. I'm your host, Mr. Francis, and you're tuning in to the Hanging with Mr. Francis podcast, episode 9, and it's entitled 2022. Not the numerals, but the actual word 2022. Not TO like everyone's saying, like it's 2022 and stupidness. But yes, it's good to be back. I'm now officially on YouTube. That's right, I'm on YouTube. Isn't that amazing? Yay. Anyways, I feel old. And not because of physically or mentally or anything of that nature, and not being able to remember. Though I can't seem to remember a lot of stuff anymore. Well, not a lot. Like, I can't fixate on a certain thing as I used to. I mean, I remember things, but not the best way as I used to. Now, when I say I feel old where 20 to 25 years ago, I used to hear older people say, "Oh, I don't understand these kids," and I feel like those people now. And why I say this is I really don't understand a lot of shit that's happening now. Right? Like, I understand, but I don't understand. And I'm speaking from the technological aspect, like the NFTs and all that stuff. Like, I understand the technology and everything like that, but I just don't understand how things have got to where it is now. Right? Like, I don't even know how to even explain this. I'm just going off the top. I usually don't write out a script to what I want to say. I just say what I feel like. And whatever I feel like, I say it. So, I'm going to keep this short like I did the last episode, episode 8, Coming of Change. But again, we're now on episode 9. And it's a new year. So, I know I'm a little late on this, but Happy New Year to those who I haven't said Happy New Year to. And those who are tuning in for the first official episode. Even though I did upload episode 8 to YouTube, I just want to get the ball rolling there. This is the first official episode that will be strictly bound to YouTube going forward. So any episodes going forward will no longer be on Mixcloud anymore, which episodes 1 through 8 are still available on Mixcloud if you give a shit. But yeah, going forward, episodes 9, well, even though episode 8 was uploaded, like I just said, but episode 9 and going forward is officially gonna make the cut for YouTube. With that being said, I appreciate those who have continued with me through this journey from the beginning, even though I know not many people have listened to the podcast. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, but I'm doing this as, that's not necessarily as just strictly a hobby, but whoever cares to listen will listen. I did get a good feedback on the last episode where I was a little bit more in-depth and straightforward about how I feel about certain things, of how change is not necessarily a comfortable one when it comes to when changes happen. They're never comfortable, but they are duly necessary. I don't know if that's the right word to use. But anyways, but the point I'm getting at is it's a brand new year. Kind of feel like I'm starting fresh, but I'm not. But I just wanted to port things over to YouTube just to get things going over here instead of using Mixcloud. And the YouTube tools that are used they're pretty amazing. I see a lot more details. Obviously, I can't imagine what people who have millions of followers see in their accounts with all these tools and analytics stuff. But it's pretty awesome to see all those things. So, again, it's a new year. New year, new me. No, there's none of that shit. It doesn't necessarily have to be a new year for you to start doing something new or do something you love. You can start doing that shit any time you really want to. Like, who gives a shit? Just do it. It's a little bit more comfortable when we all do it off of the new year, because mentally it's a fresh start of a new year and it's turning a new leaf. The old year has already come and gone, and now we're in this brand new year that we're just starting. So obviously it's easier, right? It's like, why not do this now? But it usually dies off. And the reason why I say you shouldn't pick necessarily always the time, beginning of the year, to start something, like you could start something in March or May or July, or you can use the seasons, right? Spring starts, which is generally like a new beginning in a way, because flowers start to bloom or anything. That could be it. That could be your new year. Your new year could be summertime, fall, winter. It doesn't matter. The point is, do what you need to do in 2022. I like that. I just thought about that shit right now. So that's her slogan. Do what you need to do in 2022. All right. And there's a few things that I'm working on. I can't announce them yet, but as time goes on, I will. But those things, I kind of was planning them and doing a little bit of research and working on them little by little. But overall, it's almost been a year since becoming a father, and I'm very grateful to have watched my daughter grow. It's not easy in these times, if you know exactly what I'm talking about, in this demic, but taking the time to see her grow is a beautiful thing. How can you not enjoy things like that? I mean, it sucks when you hear that some people are never around for their kids to watch them grow, especially the first year, because it's a crazy experience. Not in like crazy as a bad, but it's like a very good crazy. Like, you get to see their first two teeth come in, and their first steps, the first words, not necessarily a real word, but their laugh, and just seeing those changes is beautiful. It's something that you cannot experience twice unless you have more kids, obviously, but seeing it for the first time and experiencing it it's very beautiful. And if you get to experience something like that, it's something that is very memorable, and no one can take that away from you, because it's always going to be something that's there for you in your memory forever. Like I said, I'm getting old. Some things I don't remember, but there are things that will always stay there because of how much it impacts you and change your life. And I have to say, it has changed my life. My outlook on life has been a little bit more different than normal based on other experiences that I experienced in life. But I wouldn't change it for the world. And this is why I said, do what you gotta do for 2022, or do what you gotta do in 2022. It's like you gotta motivate yourself, and that's usually what the main thing is. Because sometimes you're not gonna have the right people in your life that will push you and motivate you. And like I said in the last episode, that there's gonna be people that you have in your life that are not gonna appreciate you for you, or push you beyond your limits. And more times you kind of have to do those things yourself. But it's always good to have a lot of good people in your corner that will motivate you to push further and push harder to attain those goals. And one of the things I would say is usually one of the hardest things is seeing results. Right, like I mentioned at the beginning, on the top of this episode, I said, I haven't seen a lot of my numbers going up, and that's okay, right? You can't expect to do big numbers right off the bat, and if you do and you go viral or whatever it is that nowadays people tend to strive off of, especially on TikTok and all that bullshit, everyone's jockeying for that quick fame. And for me, I like that slow, steady process, because it's all about the journey, right? Because then you can look back and see where you started. And there's a few things in my life that I remember I started, and I look back and I'm like, damn, I'm glad I tried that, just to say, you know what, I did that. And it's a great feeling because you don't want to look back. Like a lot of the older generation, like my first job, not really my first job, but one of my early first jobs were working in a retirement home. And it's not necessarily changing their shit or anything like that. I served dinner and things like that, but you get to have conversations with that older generation, or the elderly. And one of the things I remember hearing consistently with a lot of them is they regret doing this, they wish they did this, and stuff like that. And you you don't want to feel that way, because when they said it, you can see it on their face. Like, I remember one of them said, I wish I told a lot more people to go fuck themselves. I felt that one. As I'm getting older, I definitely feel that one. But sometimes it's not really worth it. If the moment is called for it, that moment may never come back, But is it really worth it, though? It's usually what the case is. But right, you don't want to live life with regrets, and there's a lot of things I wish I did sooner rather than later, but there's never a wrong time to start something, just as long as you start it. Don't ever let anyone tell you any different or otherwise, because, right, what do they know? It's up to you to make that, right? So, as I said, I'm not going to make this too long, because it seems the shorter episodes are a little bit better for some people, because no one really wants to sit down and listen to me for an hour who don't even know who I am yet. But as time goes on, obviously, when I have more deeper conversations with other guests that I may have on the show, definitely would like to have more in-depth conversation, which will tend to be longer. If you haven't tuned into the Mixcloud versions, I do have longer episodes where I speak to Jimmy on the Digital Dads episodes. We mostly chop it up on the cryptocurrency aspect, the digital world, and stuff like that, and just being dads in this digital era. We're close in age, and like close in range of age, so we tend to see things similarly. So if you haven't checked that out yet, give it a check, and hopefully we'll have some new episodes soon, strictly on YouTube, of our digital dad session. But in that essence, like, just do what you really have to do, because with everything going on in the world right now, you never know when it's your last time, right? And I think that's one of the things that I think a lot about. I can't even talk properly. It's one of the things that I think about a lot more as I get older, and also becoming a father. It gave me a different perspective on life. Death is guaranteed in life, right? It's one of the things that are guaranteed no matter what. You can't escape it. It comes, right? And you experience it through other people who, sometimes pass away early or at a later age. But it's always there, right? You can't go anywhere. I know you've seen with a lot of movies where they're like, oh, they're trying to upload consciousness and people can live longer. So, that bullshit. Don't listen to that shit, right? But the greatest thing that I've learned is, and I think I may have said this in one of the episodes, I can't really remember which one exactly, but time is the real currency. You can never get that shit back. Never get that shit back. And nowadays, our time is being cut short with a lot of BS going on in the world, ever since the whole lockdown, shutdown situation, and we're approaching 2 years. I would say 2 years at this point, because we're not that far off from it being 2 years. But to see where the world is 2 years later, it's not really scary, but it's a clear eye opener. And if a lot of people aren't paying attention at this point, then I don't know why you're not paying attention. The crazy thing is, it's not even over yet. A lot more shit's gonna hit the fan sooner rather than later. Some might happen sooner, and certain things take time because the whole world shut down. There are going to be repercussions from that, and we're already seeing it. We already seen the impact of it, and it just sucks, right? Because a lot of people's lives was impacted and changed because of this. And it's not even over yet. And this is why I'm saying, we are now in the year 2022. It's still friggin' weird for me to say that because I remember myself. I'm not gonna age myself, but I remember at a time about somewhere around close to 2 decades ago, close around there. You can do the numbers and figure out how old I am. I was learning about technology and how things are and stuff like that, and to see where we are now and to see how much the world's changed and everything like that 2 decades later, it's like, wow, this is where we are. And to say 2022, like I remember saying the year 2002 was just kind of weird. And then 20 years later, here we are, 2022. And it's just amazing that we see where society is right now with all technological advancements and stuff like that. And I'm definitely going to speak more on that as the episodes go on. But as I mentioned, I'm trying to keep this short and sweet. So my main message in this episode for anyone is do what you got to do in 2022. Because time is something that we cannot get back. And I've preached this before and I'm preaching it again. And I hold myself accountable for it because there's a lot of things that I've put to the back burner and I'm, lackadaisical on it and stuff like that. And I have to hold myself more accountable to do the things that I love and things that needs to be done, but also enjoy what makes sense, and that's spending time with my loved ones, but also taking the time to do what I love to do as a hobby or whatever it may be. Even this podcast, like I never thought I would speak on a microphone because I never used to like talking and hearing my own voice. And again, I gotta do that when I'm, re-listening to the episode and uploading it and so forth and so forth. But on that note, I'm gonna end it right here. But as I mentioned, I hope this can be a motivation to someone not going into this new year, but now that we're in the new year, hopefully going forward and throughout the year, people can use this as motivation. Whoever listens, if you're listening, do what you got to do in 2022 because tomorrow is never promised, and sometimes I tend to forget that. But then there are things that happen that snaps you back into that mind frame, like, oh man, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and so forth, because no one else is gonna do it unless you do it. You gotta hold yourself accountable. You gotta make sure you're willing to put in the time and effort. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be working on a few things myself, continuing to enjoy watching my daughter grow and just seeing the changes based on the steps I take within myself and taking everything to another level, because you got to embrace that, right? Got to embrace it. So thank you very much for tuning in for another episode of Hangin with Mr. Francis. Again, I'm your host, Mr. Francis. This is episode 9, 2022. So do what you gotta do. All right. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. We out.